Hi all, it's Rio CloudSync. This is my first video in 2024 and today we're looking at conditional access policies and filtering for applications using custom security attributes. In today's video I've accessed the Microsoft Entra admin console, navigating to entra.microsoft.com. This is our identity and access management service pane, formerly Azure Active Directory. In today's video we'll be using the protection service pane. We'll be accessing custom security attributes. We'll also be looking at conditional access and enterprise applications. For some of these services, I've already created the policies to save time and to give you a quick tutorial on how to assign these custom security attributes to the conditional access policy and then assign it to the service principal. So why are we doing this? Well, if we navigate to custom security attributes, I'll give you a bit of a brief on why we're doing this today. Currently, conditional access policies can be applied to all applications or to individual applications. Many organisations, specifically large organisations with a large number of apps, might find this process difficult to manage across multiple conditional access policies. Therefore, Microsoft have introduced application filters for conditional access policies, which allows organisations to tag service principals with custom security attributes. These custom attributes are then added to their conditional access policies. One key thing to note is that these filters for applications are evaluated at token issuance runtime and not configuration time. So let's go ahead and create a custom security attribute, assign a custom security attribute to your application, and create a conditional access policy to secure the application. So first things first, we need to create an attribute set. So when you go ahead and create an attribute set, you'll select Add Attribute Set. You'll give it a name. You'll then decipher if you want a description. And please bear in mind the attribute set name can be 32 characters long. Maximum number of attributes, I believe it's 500. However, realistically, we only want to assign this to 5. I've got 5 predefined values I would like to set. I've already created this, as I advised, so I'm just going to come out of here, but if you select Add, and please bear in mind you do need that relevant role-based access control to be able to create these attribute sets, in which I'll go through in a second. So I've called it mine conditional access test, and I've got an active attribute set within my custom attribute. I've called it policy requirement. So if I add attribute, I can give it a name. Just give it policy, what have I called it? Policy requirement as a name. You want to then select ellipsis and press edit attribute. I've selected data type. When you select add attribute, you have a couple of options: Boolean, integer, and string. Well, a Boolean is either a true or false. An integer is a number. And a string could be a word or a sentence per se. Conditional access policies at the moment using custom security attributes only support string. You can create a custom security attribute with a Boolean or integer, but they can't be assigned to conditional access policies or they won't work. So we'll select string. And we want to allow multiple values to be assigned. Yes. We also want to only allow predefined values to be assigned. If we hover over the little I, the little policy dip, select yes to require that the attribute only be assigned values from the predefined values list, or select no to allow this attribute to be assigned user-defined values or potentially predefined values via the end user. So I'm just going to go back to my predefined custom security attribute, and you can see the values I've added: require hybrid join device, require MFA, require compliant device, legacy auth allowed, and block guest users. These are all active, and all you do is press add value and you just type in the word and make it active. Once we've created the attribute and the attribute set, let me just quickly cover off the roles as administrators. There are 4 roles for attributes. We've got attribute assignment administrator, attribute assignment reader, definition admin, and definition reader. My account at the moment, if I navigate to my account, has got attribute definition administrator and attribute assignment administrator. So attribute definition administrator will define and manage the definition of custom security attributes, and assignment administrator will allow me to read custom security attribute keys and values for supported Microsoft Entra objects. And of course I've got global administrator, so I have full realm of the service. So now we'll scroll back to custom security attributes, and we can see we've got our custom security attribute there, and we set those predefined values. And like I said, I set a maximum to 5. You can expand that up to 500. We then want to access conditional access. Remember, you need a Microsoft Entra P1 or P2 license to use conditional access. We then want to select policies. Our next stage is to create a policy. Please create a good name for your policy so it's easier to navigate in the near future. I've created one called require MFA. It's very simplistic. If you just press create policy, give it a name. This one's just going to require MFA for anyone signing into my application. I want to select all users. That's fine. You could define that to a Microsoft 365 security group. And I want to exclude maybe a break-glass account. For this demo, I haven't excluded anything. I then want to target resources. So this is when I said, okay, we can normally target all apps or specific apps. In this instance, I'm going to select apps, and I'm going to select filter. I'm going to select edit filter, and I'm going to select configure, yes. I'm going to select my attribute I created earlier, which was the conditional access test, and then the attribute set, which is defined, called policy requirement. I'm going to select the operators it contains, and I'm going to select that predefined value for require MFA. I'm going to leave conditions as is, and I'm going to grant access controls require MFA. I'm going to leave this conditional access policy in report only, so I can test my findings in the Entra ID sign-in logs. Once again, if you have Entra ID P1 or P2, you have 30 days worth of logs. If you're on free tier, which you wouldn't be able to use conditional access policies anyway, you have 7 days worth of logs. So once I've done that, I've created my custom security attribute as well as my conditional access policy. Now onto the final stage, in which I can navigate to enterprise apps. You create a test app if you need to be, or if you already have an existing app, just please monitor it via report only through the sign-in logs. In this instance, I've got a test application, in which I'll select test. And then under manage on the left-hand side, I've got an option for custom security attributes. And all you do now is add assignment and select the custom security attribute created earlier. Select an attribute type, which will be the policy requirement. I'm already using it, so it won't show up on the list. And with that, log in as an end user, sign into the application you've assigned the custom security attribute, and with that, upon token issuance, the user will be required to enroll into multi-factor authentication or authenticate through MFA. Any questions, please do let me know, but that was just a quick overview on the filter for applications using conditional access policies. Thank you very much.